Let's look at the EBS configuration again from the beginning. EBS is an electronic bank statement that you receive from the bank, either for prior day or for intraday. And this is the format for the EBS electronic bank statement. 16 record is always the external transaction type. You can see 115 is external transaction types. In here it represents the lockbox payments. There is another external transaction type. 475 represents the check inputs. Line number 2 always is the bank account number or the bank key. It also shows you the date for that particular bank statement, and also shows you the opening balances for that particular bank account. And typically these files are pretty long and lengthy. You can look at the actual BI2 file or file layout specified by the banks. And every bank should follow the same rules, same external transaction keys. 115 should always be lockboxes. 475 should always be incoming checks. But you need to code these things within your configuration, within your EBS configuration. We'll see that in a second. Okay. So once you have the file, take the file, save it, and save it as a BI2 file format, and save it to a C drive. And you have to use FF_5 to record or to import the bank statements. In real life, you use AutoSys, SAP PI, or some kind of a web methods or some kind of an integration tool to import those records into the system. The step 1 is you have to create the house bank. House banks, for one company code, you can have many in a house bank. In this example, company code 100, I have one house bank. Each house bank has a bank key assigned to it. Bank key is the one that's going to be on the file that the bank is going to send you. That's how you're going to recognize the bank who's going to be sending you the file. And each bank, house bank, has many bank accounts. In this example, you have 2 bank accounts. This is the actual bank account number and the text for that particular bank account number. Each bank account number has to be tied to a GL account within FI. In this example here, the GL account is 111553. That is tied to this particular bank account. You can see that over here in the bank account configuration. Company code, house bank, account ID. This is the bank account number. This is the bank key, and this is the GL account number. Okay, so every house bank has to be tied to a GL account number. Once that is done, the very first step is you need to create an accounting symbol. These are the logical groupings or how you want a transaction to be processed. In this example, I have checks in and checks out. Anything else would be going into the master accounts. You can do the bottoms up or you can do tops down, either way. Once accounting symbols are created, you need to assign the GL accounts back to the accounting symbols. GL accounts are the ones that are going to be debited or credited eventually. And then second step is you need to create the posting rules. Posting rules will tell you whether it's going to be a debit entry or a credit entry, and which document type system is going to be creating. Most of the time you're going to be creating Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 custom document type based on this posting rule that you can track off and you can track. So once the posting rules have been configured inside out, you create the transaction type. Transaction type, you create one transaction type for each type of transactions. For MT940, you create one transaction type. BI2, you create another transaction type. You can create your own custom transaction types as well. You assign here the external transaction types that you saw in the BI2 file. You assign that to your posting keys within the transaction types. So within the transaction types, you're mapping the posting keys back to the external transaction types. And your posting keys are mapped to account keys, and account keys mapped to your GL accounts. So that's how this is like a capstone screen here. Transaction type maps to external transaction types. External transaction types are posting keys mapped to accounting types to the GL accounts. And that's how system determines those things. And then once that is done, you go back to FF1_5, financial accounting banks, import bank statements. You open the BI2 file, import it. Once the import is finished, you'll see a format like this. You'll see the posting key, external transaction type, bank key, bank name. Whether it's a debit or credit, you'll see the amount number. Once that is done, you'll actually go back and see the bank statement. This is the bank statement, how it's going to look like. Name of the bank, bank number, bank account number, account ID, statement date. You can see the opening balance, the $1,000 debit or credit. In this case, it's a debit entry. You'll see the check number, when it was posted, and you'll see the opening dates. So this is going to be done for every single bank. Large companies have over 100 banks and multiple countries, multiple currencies. So the complexity lies in the overall integration of the how well you can integrate the BI2 files and basically process and configure these transactions. Okay. With that, let me go back into the actual screen. We're going to be looking at that in the system. I have transaction types defined here. Transaction type, my transaction type is BI2. I'm in the US. I'm processing all the BI2 transaction types, and I'm going to be looking at all the external transaction types. You don't have to code. There are many external transaction types, or you don't have to program all the external transactions. You need to talk to the bank which apply to you, and then map external transaction types to your BI transaction type that you define, and then map that to the posting keys that you created over here. Okay. And then posting rules define whether it's a debit or credit and which document type that you're going to be using to post those things. And then in the prior step, you create the posting rules. Posting rules are basically incoming checks, outgoing checks, credit outgoing ACH, incoming ACH, ZBA means you're clearing the bank accounts. And basically you create the accounting symbols. Accounting symbols are nothing but you create account symbols and tie that back to GL accounts. That's how the system knows which GL accounts to debit or credit based on the posting rules. And then you go back, actually create the accounting rules. So reverse engineer, if you go this way, create account symbols, tie GL accounts back to accounting symbols, create the posting rules. Within the posting rules, you define debit or credit and which document type to create. Create transaction types, which is going to be a BI2. Assign external number ranges to the posting rules. And then here, you assign the bank keys to your transaction types. So bank keys will define within the BI file. There will be a bank key. It knows this is a transaction type. Goes here, picks up the posting rules, ties some back to account symbols, gets the GL account, and then posts debits or credit into the bank system using FFI2. So let's go to where the bank statements are actually done. I go into accounting, financial accounting, bank accounts. Bank statements, FFI2, that's where you import it. Okay, and you can also look at your bank statements after you finish or complete the process. Okay. Yeah. So we talked about how the treasury payments flow within the system. As you can see here, we need to make payments to the vendor. Typically, it's when we write a check or when we send an ACH entry to the vendor, it's a debit to vendor and credit to the cash clearing account. We run the F110 payment run, send the checks or ACH to the vendor. The vendor deposits the check in his bank account, and his bank sends it to your company's bank, and company bank clears the check. Once they clear the check, they send you the EBS electronic bank statement, which basically clears the cash clearing account and credits the cash. And this is called the prior day bank statement, which is in the BI2 file format. And you can also do MT940 formats as well. And most of this time, these files come in from midnight to early in the morning. They can come through machine to machine or through Shift middleware portal. And if it is invoices, you send an invoice to the customer through AR, and it's usually credit to the customer, debit to the cash clearing account. And once the customer actually pays the money, it clears the cash clearing account, credits the cash. And within the treasury, once you know how your initial cash position is going to look like, you put in a memo record within the system. Memo records are manual payments that you're going to be making today. Or you can also make any manual payment request using RVND transaction. A rewind transaction. And also you invest in the banks, or you borrow from the banks, or you do foreign exchanges, swaps, options, stocks. All those things will create automatic payment request in F110 that creates IDOCs. Okay, let me do that. SAP creates IDOCs. Using IDOCs, you write some custom programs to extract the IDOCs and then create wire payment files and then send that to the bank. Okay, and the wire payments goes to the bank, and then they clear the payment, and then that comes back tomorrow as EBS statement. So that's the whole cycle, treasury cycle, which kind of keeps going round and round and round. Okay, so let's go through the treasury presentation again one more time. The basic functions of the treasury are they pay and they collect company bills and also do bank reconciliation. They also do cash management, ensure the availability of the cash at the right time at the right place. Treasury workstation also does the invest the surplus cash and also fund any shortcomings and also execute any MM or FX trades. Basically, the treasury's objectives are to achieve the optimal management of cash, both short-term and long-term, achieve the best foreign exchange rates. Based on the current liquidity, treasury decides whether to invest money or borrow, and also send the FXs to other countries, and also do borrowing within intercompany borrowing. So in treasury, you have a product catalog. Product catalog consists of money market, foreign exchange, and also as your securities as well as your interest rate swaps. Within the product catalog, within the groupings you have product types. Within the product types you have flow types, and also you have transaction types. So here you have contract types, which is within the contract types, the product categories, product types, and transaction types. And we looked at that in the configuration. Most of these will be standard delivered, but you can go back and customize these things from a higher to lower level. And once the treasury creates the deals, the back office actually confirms the deals, releases the deals for payment, and also does the month-end processing, accruals and differences and valuation. This is the deal. You create the business partners, which is your banks. You create the deals with the banks. You get the EBS bank statement early in the morning. You look at your current cash position. You go to TR workstation. You create the money market FXs and as well as your investments, and that automatically creates your payment request. You can also supplement it with manual payment requests. Run your F110 that creates IDOCs. IDOCs create wire statements. The wire files get sent to the banks, and then that process repeats itself when you do correspondence with the banks. And then also you run the limits. Limits are for each business partner. You create limits, how much you can trade. You also do the credit for each of these business partners, maintain the credit limits for each of the business partners. You also work with Bloomberg and Reuters to interface the interest rates as well as the foreign exchange rates into the system. because when you're doing this trading, you need to know, what is the interest rates and what are the foreign exchange rates. And your EBS statements come early in the morning. Your market rates come in also early in the morning. And once you all do these things, by end of the day, we have your final cash position. We talked about creating the master data, creating the business partners. Pretty much house banks, same thing. And I'll show you a transaction where everything kind of comes together. Okay. Front office does the analysis and liquidity forecasting, creates and inputs the deals, confirms and verifies and releases the deals, does the correspondence, posts the deals within the system. We just saw how to post a deal. That creates automatic payment requests. And then later in the end of the day, you can also supplement with manual requests. Run F110, F111, that creates IDOCs. IDOCs get picked up by the payment program. That creates a bar file, sends it to the bank. Bank sends you the EBS statements, and EBS statements gets posted using FF_5, and then you see the bank statement, and then you follow the process again every day. And it's also early in the morning, you also do the bank reconciliation to make sure that the GL accounts and the bank statements are matching one-to-one. Okay, I'll summarize everything in one slide. One more time. Okay, so these are the treasury steps basically. Okay, so that's the kind of process flow, and that's the process flow. These are the number of steps for the banks. Hopefully it gave a good high level overview of the treasury. Typically this is like again just like FI, it's a pretty big class, but I try to summarize that like in a couple of hours. I would like to give you assignments if you're interested, pick any of the topics and try to kind of go through the flow from end to end. And then if you can demo, I don't have the right data to show you banks, bank statement. I don't have the right data to post EBS. Again, it takes time to set up all this data. So appreciate if if anybody is interested, take a lead on it. There are a lot of jobs in treasury area. If you want to practice and show it to the rest of the team, we learn as a team, and basically we share information.